The Redeemer has risen.
Hey, what is up guys, Master Leaf here, back to do the grand final of the 1.03 Tournament 7. Yeah, I know it doesn't have a very exciting name, but nonetheless, it is what it is. It's going to be between Shock Trepid and Drive, so Drive was our other participant. And guys, check out that smooth 60 FPS as I rip off Cybert's own invention. Well, I say invention, he was the first one to come up with this idea in Kane's draft to begin with. I could have had this working a long time ago, but I had a webcam and it doesn't work too well with webcams. Nonetheless, down here in the bottom, we're going to see as the red nod is going to be Shock Trepid, and it is really windy outside, guys, so I hope I don't have any power cut. Did I just say Shock Trepid? I want to make sure I don't get mixed up here. Yeah, it is Shock Trepid. Up in the top will be Drive as the green GDI. So the map is going to be Tournament Dust Bowl. This is 1.03, so expect to see some interesting things happen. And already interestingly, this tournament hasn't been dominated by one faction, as it was the case previously. First, we remembered that the screen was just busted, but then screen got toned down a lot. I don't agree with the methods that they used to nerf screen, like they made the Buzzer Swarm support power tier 3. Didn't really feel that that was necessary, nor did I feel that the lightning spike was too oppressive. Now I feel it's a bit too weak in health, but yeah, it is what it is. Afterwards, GDI became super powerful, and I think they still are, but people are open to playing other factions, and CGF's probably quite happy about that. I'm not sure if there was a rule in this tournament about playing the same faction more than once being disqualifiable, but nonetheless, it's nice to see a bit more variety. And you know what, guys, I love this Tiberium. This Tiberium right here, I'm so glad that it got fixed, and I can't wait for you all to get a hold of this mod, because there is a lot more than just Tiberium fixes. I've also tidied up with the player colors and everything. This video will be 4K. Anyways, back to this game. I don't really talk too much about the game early on because, yeah, it's mostly eco from these guys. Bike's going to scout the base up here. So Drive will be scouted, and Shock, what's he doing now? Is he going to 2 ore factories? Doesn't seem like it. He's going to go for a 3rd refinery. Likewise for Drive, I would imagine, though Drive has only 3 harvesters. Why is that? Oh my god, man, he's made so many pipples. Damn. Does Shock have anything to hold this back? Let's just, scroll over here, see what Shock has. He's got a barrack, so he can put down laser turrets. Those are very good in this patch. For good or for worse, I don't know. And I do hope that my phone will stay quiet in this cast. Should have muted that earlier. But I am running a brand new copy of Windows, guys, and it is more or less a new PC per se. Change the CPU. So when you do that, of course, you have to reinstall Windows. But the Pitbulls are just going to roam around this map. This will deny any scouting from Shock Trepid to see the transition that Drive will make. A lot of options are available to Drive. He can go for infantry and Preds. He can go into hammerhead spam. Orca's even very good in 1.03. The one tournament I did get far and almost win in 1.03, I made Orca's extremely effective. So that's just perfect. 3 4 Scorpion tanks for Shock Trepid. Those have the Kane Edition skins on them. And sorry guys, I just got a bit distracted because my cat currently is playing with the scratch post, and I thought it was something else, but false alarm. Bikes, still no action thus far. The Pitbulls, I don't think they got anywhere in the base. They just did a recon and then they escaped. So these guys, they're just feeling each other out, seeing what's going on. No stealth though for Shock Trepid. That's one very powerful feature of Nod. Playing Nod, you get the subterfuge tactics, you get to stealth your base, and it's really difficult to counter that play style. One thing that's less oppressive now is the Stealth Redeemer. That was a pretty meaty unit in 1.02, however, not so much anymore. What is Drive doing currently? He's going for a double war factory. I'm surprised given how smooth and streamlined the eco is in this patch, how little we've been seeing of these guys go aggressive units. They're just camping up, going to tier 3, so they're going to turtle and stack units. This is going to deny Shock the scout, so he's just going to guess Shock right now if Drive is going for a tech center. He will, however, go in with these Scorpion tanks. This is the first engagement we've seen on Drive side of the map. This will spot for a 1-click. Now 1.03, you have to make sure that you click directly on the refinery with the Catalyst missile, otherwise it will just severely damage that ref. Also, the Catalyst missile can only destroy one refinery at a time. So even if your opponent puts 2 together, it won't kill both, it'll just damage both of them. So it has to be directly on the ref. Pits will get scared away. Shock getting the laser capacitors upgrade. I keep thinking this is refinery up here, but it's just a couple of infantry squads. And I really love this minimap once again for the ease of seeing units on it. Love the minimap style. It is a Photoshop filter, the technique applied to this. He got it from the filter gallery. He told me a month ago it's very easy to do. I'm not sure if we should do this with all the minimaps, maybe not applicable to all of them. But nonetheless, I do like the style. It suits the gameplay really well. But laser capacitors against tier 3 GDI. I mean, we did see that work the last series with Shock Trepid versus Lumos. Lumos actually going for the laser scorps and winning out. But on Tournament Dust Bowl, I don't know. I guess he can maybe try and get some damage done here. Of course, towers don't do nearly as much damage to tanks as well. Look at those tanks, how much damage they take now. It's actually pathetic. So basically a waste of cash building watchtowers to counter Scorpion tanks. That's a huge mistake. Pitbulls will be going in to harass for Drive. He's actually not microing on that though. Plenty of things going on at the moment. Scorps will have picked up a refinery. Not sure if this one was powered online to get the harvester, but I don't think the harvester spawned there, so that's a little unfortunate. There is one here that's idle. Don't think he's going to be able to get that one though. Is he Shock? Stealthed base up here for Shock. Shock actually ecoing really well. He's got triple ref. Drive resorting to just one single refinery down here. However, he does have railguns. This is definitely not the unit you want to be seeing as GDI in this position. The stealth tanks can be very effective in this situation. Watchtowers again, just not the unit or the structure he needs to be building. He needs to go for a sonic emitter for sure. Husk's getting cleaned up. Unfortunately, he does lose one stealth tank. Rifle squads will try and get this one. Infantry will be, of course, the reason why Drive is building those watchtowers. Beacon coming down though for Shock Triplet. I'm assuming that's going to be a Tib Vapor Bomb, cleaning up the majority of the defense. And I think this is going to be this push halted. Though of course Drive can still fence his watchtower, so he can put down a building in front of the watchtowers to building block. And the watchtowers, when you use the waypoint command with the Alt key, you can make the tower more effective at killing units, because there is a delay when the watchtower changes targets, but that can be addressed by alt tabbing. Alt tabbing? No, don't do that, guys. Alt tabbing is really bad. Just disable alt tab key. Disable the Windows key if you can, because I've lost many a game with that. It's devastating in this game. Stealth tank, not sure where that was wandering to. It must have been a Q move with the other ones. Does Drive have any eco behind this? Yeah, he does. He's got a refinery here with a couple harvesters. No bugging out there. And this push still hasn't been stopped. There's 2 juggernauts, and if Drive gets another refinery down, then he can power through and build more of those sonic emitters. Build up maybe a frontline war factory for juggernauts. That may be an option. Shock, meanwhile, he needs to consider other options. He's going for an air tower for what could presumably be for Vertigo bombers. And Vertigos are extremely good in this situation. There's no anti-air. Mammoth tanks have those missiles on them, but they're really a soft counter to air. They're not really going to kill a Vertigo before it re-stealths. Stealth tank, really nice harassment from Shock. I mean, he's done a great job with these stealth tanks. It was actually Lumos in that last series that I remember building the stealth tanks, but these Tip Wars players really love their stealth tanks, and they are cheaper now to build. Avatar being pushed back, that's nice micro for Shock. And stealth artillery coming out for him as well. Spectres on the field. The beacon is definitely a thing in this patch now, because you don't need to deploy a beacon, or rather it's not really a thing. The Spectres and the shadow teams function much like the sniper teams. The snipers, the shadow teams just have to be in the vicinity. They don't really need to drop a beacon. It works exactly like a sniper team for spotting. And I think that was a good change, because before the beacon unstealthed after a single volley, and I think that kind of made it useless. I mean, you can't really do significant damage with a single Spectre shot from afar unless it's a ton of Spectres. But again, the shadow teams have that super long cooldown before they can redeploy the beacon. So that's one ability that we've never really seen too much. I would love this to be seen more. There's definitely potential with this. But this game is heating up still. MCV going in for Shock Tripper's natural field here. It is depleted, so I guess not all the time is a good idea regrowing your Tiberium fields, because your opponent may just expand there and get what you've been letting regrow. Stealth tank trying to get some damage done there. Unfortunately, doesn't get anywhere. And this may be the time where Railguns could just overpower Shock Tripper, because he's been mostly investing into those Scorpion tanks of lasers. Does have Vertigos out, which is really cool and awesome to see. This is going to force a bunch of Pipples out, which Shock probably really doesn't want to see. Unfortunately, one of them does get torn up there. A nuke as well is on the map. Now, this does have 1 minute less on the cooldown in this patch. And guys, I really do hope we get to see that nuke, because if we do, boy, do I have a treat for you. I'm so hopeful, fingers crossed guys, that we get to see this nuke. But it's looking like Drive is going to clean up this base, and that's going to trap Shock in the right side of the map. Got a couple Spectres here, he needs to make those work fantastically. 2 of them are veteran snipers doing work, killing all the infantry. I'm going to expect a Shredder turret to come down here any moment. 2 avatars, 1 is low on health, could get that into the War Factory for repair. Nice Spectre shots though for Shock Tripper. This is exactly what we want to see. And that Vertigo shot as well, man, look at that. All those units going down. The shadow teams, did they get cleaned up? No, they didn't. They're here. He needs to put down more of those Shredder turrets, or get the Venoms in as well. The Venoms coming in to kill those sniper teams, and this is a pretty close and intense game right here, guys. A Vapor Bomb comes down, gets the MCV almost, 1 Avatar Redeemer, 1 Mammoth tank left, and Shock somehow pulls this one off. I can't believe he held that army back, man. It looked really ferocious. It looked like he couldn't do anything there. But somehow he did it. And I guess that's the strength of having a super weapon. It just forces your opponent to make reckless, decision making, because he's basically on a cooldown, and we all know how strong super weapons are in 1.03. So we can understand completely Drive's reaction. I really want to see the nuke go off though, but I think Drive may just decide to sell up. I don't know if he will. If he's aware there is Tiberium up in the top of the map, so he could just send these harvesters over there right now. But he's deciding to leave them there idle, just glancing over at my computer to see if I'm recording, because this is the first time I'm recording on this PC. Did do a quick test to see if it was all tickety-boo, but it is certainly so. Catalyst missile comes down on that refinery, not really going to do too much. It's probably a waste of cash actually for Shock. And in situations like this, especially for Shock Tripper, he really needed to save as much money as possible and be as efficient as possible. But nonetheless, that was a pretty good game. I enjoyed that one. Those guys putting on a show there, and it was unfortunate we didn't get to see the nuke. Really liked the vertigo control from Shock and the Spectre harass as well. The stealth tank harass, I meant. Really good job there with those stealth tanks. So yeah, well done to Shock Trooper. He's going to be 1-0 ahead in this grand final series, which is a best of 9. So we've got plenty of games to go, guys. So GG. Alright guys, it is game number 2, which brings us on to the fabulous, wonderful Tournament LA, which was Technique's favorite map, the favorite map that he made from all the maps that he has produced for Kane's Wrath. And down, did I say down? I meant to say up here in the top, we can see Shock Trooper playing as the red GDI. And scrolling over to the bottom of this map, we're going to see as the green GDI once again. It's going to be Drive. Did I say GDI for Shock? I meant to say Nod. I was too focused on that MCV, guys. It is mesmerizing for me seeing the player color on top of the Nod MCV. I think it looks a lot better. But that wind here though is pretty intense at the moment, so I'm hoping to get this cast done tonight, but I hope I don't have any power cuts. Anyways, did anyone grab the mutant hobble? That's the main thing we all want to know the answer to. No mutant hobble for Drive, nor has Shock Trooper gone for it. Now, one tournament, Drive did take the mutant hobble. If you guys remember, I casted that one. I believe it was also 1.03. And those units are certainly viable in 1.03. But thus far, there's been no real aggression, nothing that has really stood out thus far at this game. Usually it's the GDI player who gets this building first. I think the Nod militants received a speed buff, that's how they're able to garrison these structures first. I need to see a militant squad to know for sure. But I'm pretty sure Charles or CGF was talking about that. And this is an interesting tactic. So in the early game, looks like Shock Trooper has thought about winning these middle garrisons. Not sure if he's played beforehand. And he knew that getting the towers would be a thing with Nod versus GDI. But he's going to be grabbing this one here. And he's going to just go ahead and get on the way with an expansion. No double war factory. This is building too slowly to be that. Drive, meanwhile, he's not queuing anything, though it doesn't look like he's queuing anything. This could be because he's got a structure paused, which also makes it look like it's been cancelled. Nice eco control nonetheless, if that's the case. Doesn't look like it's though. He's just didn't queue the refineries, so this is pretty disastrous for Drive. I'm not sure if that was intentional. He did build 5 pit balls, so he's going to do what Futurama always does, which is 3 harvester harass. Shock Trooper hasn't been able to scout this, but considering how he's got a barracks already and a triple refinery, I expect he will be fine here. Is that a full harvester, by the way? Yeah, it is. Shock going to be distracted with 3 pit balls in the top. This is going to distract him almost certainly while Drive goes in for the kill. He's going to take out this harvester here, but I think Shock's going to just be fine with this one harvester going down. He's going to get most of the tank. In fact, that was, I know it's most players want to reverse move their harvester, but you should probably just leave it to unload the Tiberium it has in those situations. If you know you're not going to make it survive, you might as well just deposit the funds that it has left in the tank, right? Makes more logical sense. But again, that's like saying to me, Leaf, put your refineries correct. Yeah, logically, you should put your refineries correct, but in the midst of the battle, in the game, it is different. And it's easier saying these things from an observer's perspective. Pit balls, they killed a harvester, but Shock is going to be here again, responding with missiles. I'm surprised that Drive was scared back by this. Usually players are more aggressive. They go in even with infantry there, because they know if they kill the harvesters, they can really get that damage done and pay off the aggression, the early eco investment that they made. Because you are trading eco for units, and that's something I like about this patch as well so far. I like how there is still a mid-game, In 1.02 it feels like sometimes it's not there anymore. And of course Technique really loved the Red Alert 3 assets, ported them over to Kane's Raft. Those are not 4K, however. I don't have the knowledge of making his particular things 4K, but Harvesters will be in sight of these Pibbles, and the projectile speed on the Pibbles is pretty sick, as you can see. Makes the Pibbles more viable for this sort of harassment that we're seeing. He's going to pull back there, does score himself a Harvester. I think Drive will be pretty happy about that. He's been killing Harvesters, and he's also got a pretty good infrastructure up back at home as well. He's on tier 3. Predator tanks coming out, so I expect Mammoth tanks to be a follow-up. APCs as well, with that AP ammo. Those do have a new GDI decal on there. I did the most I could. There's a couple things left, but more or less what you're seeing here is the final product of the mod. Tech Center as well for Shock, so we're going to be seeing some avatar spam, though it could be lasers. Those lines right there I redid. Much more defined, I would say, compared to the original, which was just a mess. Unless you were playing 1080p, but yeah, 4K, this game does highlight the flaws more with the original. Scorpion tanks, not the unit you really want to see, though. I keep saying this, and it's been extremely good. And I think that's why Shock's continuing to go with this Scorp spam. Though against this many railgun preds, I think it's just going to be futile. The harassment he took earlier with the Pitbull seems to have snowballed Drive ahead in this game. He's got an expansion down on his third, and he's also containing Shock pretty hard in his base. Shock not able to get an expansion done. He's going to move out with his MCV now. It's a bit late compared to Drive. This could be lulling Drive into the Tyrian field for a Tib Vane. Tib Vane still potent. Just a tier 3 though for Shock, so this is a false alarm. Avatar could get cloaked. Pitbull's here though, so that's not going to work. He's kind of out of options unless he gets like an epic mine drop. You know, in situations like this, mine drops can be very lethal. And this infantry will get dispatched as well, so I'm expecting Drive to take this game because there is nothing really here. Drive is destroying the infrastructure. Those avatars just getting popped straight out of the war factory. And laser fences don't really confer the same amount of armor protection to buildings, so that's going to go down as well for certain. And as we see, Drive is going for a 3 refinery expansion. Not worried about spreading those ones out, guys, and it is not a noob mistake, as mentioned in that last game. He knows what he's doing. Drive is a pro. You know, hasn't even depleted this field here yet, so I imagine his eco is going to be pretty fantastic. He can go for mass war factories, deciding to go for the green 0 tactic. Spam a bunch of pitbulls and try and demoralize your opponent, because this is a tournament, this is a grand final. So establishing dominance in this fashion is going to be good in the psychological side of things for Drive. He's going to feel confident going into the next game after such a win here. But he's going to go in with these spread tanks, and I feel this is going to be all she wrote for Shock Triplet. If Drive's smart, he could just focus down this power plant here, which is upgraded. Those are basically all the power that's here to power these obelisks. Nice power micro though for Shock Triplet. Does deal with those that power situation quite nicely, but it's not going to really matter. He's just prolonging the inevitable, and that's going to be 1-1 apiece, so Drive brings it back. So I feel, ladies and gentlemen, that this will be a rather long best of 9 grand final, and I'm glad that it's a even one thus far, and that's going to be 1-1 for either side, so GG. Okay guys, game number 3, which brings us to Tiberian Rift. And this is Shock Triplet's map pick as we scroll over that juicy Tiberium right there. We're going to see playing as the green GDI once again. It's going to be Drive. So there he is, the man who brought this series back last game. with a fantastic performance. I really liked his Harassment Pibbles that game. Well executed. And over to the right hand side, we're going to be seeing as the red Marked of Kane. So Marked of Kane making its first appearance in this series will be Shock Trippet. So Marked of Kane versus GDI. And guys, I want to show you a shimmering effect on the Tiberium. See how it shimmers there on the crystals? That will be in the mod, and this was never a thing for many, many years. See if I can illustrate this more better. Yeah, see? You can see that Tiberium there. It's like shimmering like that. That is really nice how that's fixed. Huh, that's interesting. So Shock Trip is going to decide to destroy the foxhole. I mean, he certainly could, but it's not going to matter, is it? Because Drive's already garrisoned this building here, and I think he's GDI, right? Yeah. Of course, there's no reason to pick the other two factions in this patch, unless he wants to, you know, give us all a show. Though this is a cash prize grand final, as these always are, so prize money is at stake here, and these two will not want to be trolling. Shock Tripper obviously has something in mind with the Marked of Kane. Of course, the Enlightened are really powerful in this patch. I mean, what else do Mock have that really make them stand out? They have these Awaken, which of course are very, very good and can be annoying as well dealing with as GDI, because once you're out of Emp though, you need to retreat from these watchtowers. He can just rinse and repeat. This maybe has forced a lot of response out of Drive, but Drive instead going for Pit Balls, which is very interesting. Didn't expect the follow-up to be that. He's going for even more. He's left two back at home. He really needs to get those in with the other lot. But I don't think Shock Trip has caught wind of this just yet. He's not been able to scout. He's got up a War Factory now, has Shock. So he's in a great position to hold this back. The moment he sees those Pipples, he can just go into Scorpion tanks, and two coming out at the same time should be enough to hold this back. These Pipples have a really tough time ahead of them. Does the other two Pipples, are the other two Pipples making their way here now? I would dig this Foxhole if I would Drive as well, just in case there's some Shredder turret drafting going on, which will, you know, give Shock an Awakened squad, and that will also emp him. Shock Triplet building Scorps now, so that this attack will go nowhere. So unfortunately for Drive, not really what he wanted to see, a double War Factory, but Shock's going to be feeling quite comfortable about that. Drive invested a lot of early game economy into this 5 or so Pipple raid, and it didn't get him anywhere. It did last game, but Shock this game seems to have read it well. He probably felt that it was going to happen again after the last game. It seems to be countered nicely with the 2 War Factories. We've got a little bit of scouting going on here for Shock. Of course, there is some damage potential with the bikes. Nice micro from Shock Tripper. Can this bike live? Yes, it can. And that's the sort of micro that we want to see, guys. Does retreat with one bike. Now, this is going to be a tough... It's going to be a tough time for this bike getting back to base. There's foxholes everywhere, and that's really enough. That's all it would take to kill that bike. Harvester must have gone down. Wow, Drive has done some pretty huge damage up here. I'm surprised that Shock let this happen. He's had these tanks all the way. Actually, this Harvester may be pulled back. Actually, no, there is a dead Tiberium crystal here. Tiberium does spawn from Harvesters when they get destroyed. So that's how we know that it was a dead one. So Shock does lose a Harvester there. Maybe for nothing if these Pipples get trapped in the corner. So if Shock can make Drive pay pretty heavily for that, then it's going to be certainly worth it for Shock, but Drive's probably happy as it is. Did he get the refinery? I think he did, yes. So that's pretty huge. He must have built a barracks as well to try and engine repair the refinery, and that's a really good idea in those situations. Also, nice reaction time as well from Drive going for that refinery kill. So he knew immediately that if he wanted to get ahead in that game, he'd just have to kill the refinery. Saboteur, not sure where that's hoping to go. Could fill it in a Reckoner. Stealth it. Pitbull's back again for another raid. Wow, Shock Trooper, he's just getting torn apart here by these Pitbull attacks. And his Scorpion tanks are really nowhere to be seen. This is probably going to be it. He's being routed really heavily here. And I had the same experience against Shock Trooper as well when I played him the other day. He seems to be quite weak against these two-pronged attacks. And I expect even more harvesters to go down here. Drive, he's done crippling damage. He's been able to bring this series back really nicely. I assume this is Drive's game to win now, but Shock's not going to give it in. It's looking incredibly dire for him. He does have 3 harvesters on his expansion, though he's been bleeding a lot. Does lose 2 harvesters down here with a third poised to go down. Bikes need to stop being trained as well. He needs to go for those heavier Scorpion tanks. Having said that, guys, there is another raid of bikes down here. Wow, Shock. I didn't think that this would happen twice. But both guys will be taking damage. Drive does have a Texan down, so he's been able to get infrastructure, but yeah, I'm surprised that he let that happen there. The MCV is taking damage. Will not let that one fall though. Pitbull's going to be destroyed. Are the Scorpion tanks still around? Yeah, they are. Titans are well out of position. As long as this isn't a Mammoth tank coming out of this war factory here, then these tanks can do some pretty sick damage. This one Titan's really far away from base. That's going to go down for certain. And Shock, he took damage, but he's back in the game. He's been able to kill harvesters. Granted, Drive is also in a pretty good position with the tier 3. As we see the Scorpion tanks making their way into this base, the Titans will be able to clean those ones up. Titans not hopeless. Did I say GDI this whole game? I meant to say Steel Talons, right? I looked at the rifle squad and I saw an upgrade. I can't remember if I said GDI, but I actually meant to say Steel Talons, guys. So apologies for that. Titans, eh? Those will could have done some major damage there, but Shock almost certainly will take those ones out. MCV here, it's going to be taking damage, does deploy that. Nice as well, going for a barracks to engine repair. That's more effective for certain. Titans upgraded with railguns. These are going to be an issue, especially once they go around these structures here, because you know, Titans behind buildings do so much damage. And yeah, he's killing so many units here. The Titans with the railguns, man, they're so powerful. Do those do splash damage to friendly buildings? I think that just damaged the operations center right there. Okay, so that's something to take note of. And by the way, Fanatics is definitely a unit you don't see too often, guys. Look at that. Shock Trooper with the moves, taking out those Titans with the Fanatics. It's a pretty good idea as well, because the Titans can crush rockets, but obviously the Fanatics, man, they just don't get affected by that. And I'm not sure how to read this game anymore. I think Shock Trooper's brought this one back. That I thought with the Pitbull harass on Drive's expansion, I meant to say Shock's expansion, taking out that refinery, it would have been GG, but man, I really called this game too soon. Drive has been able to establish an expansion, 4 and 2, and he did sell his tier 3 off as well, so he can only build Titans. However, he does have fully upgraded Titans. He has the railgun accelerators, sorry, the railguns and adaptive armor. So those are going to be pretty meaty in action. Redeemer, I guess Shock Trooper feels that he's so far ahead in this game that he can get a Redeemer out. This takes for an eternity to finish, and it has a new texture, this Redeemer engineering facility as well. A pretty big upscale on that texture there. I hope you all see it in its 4K glory, but compared to the 1.02 original texture, it is a pretty big upscale. And also the secret shrine as well. I'm glad he made this, because I remade the pattern on the shrine. So this pattern on the shrine you see here is totally brand new. I traced the original one and made it vector. And you can see it's shining and reflecting, and it's got a brand new logo as well. Anyway, I haven't been talking much about this game. There's the Zone Troopers, guys, with the alt skins. I decided to put those in there just for fun. It won't be in the final version of this mod, but it's just for me, right? I wanted cooler looking Zone Troopers, and the game came with a dozen skins for the Zone Troopers. 1.03. Of course, Steel Talons. This is confusing, seeing all these things, and it's actually Steel Talons. But yeah, this will make their Marv much more powerful. These Zone Troopers, no scanner packs, so they're not really that great for killing stealth tanks, which is one of their main use cases in at least 1.02. And Lightens here, those have the DPS. CGF keeps saying that the DPS of those is insane. Would be nice to see supercharged particle beams come online. Titans, I know he has them, but one race gen, man, that's just going to cripple the Titan army. These don't have the durability to survive a rage gen unless he force fires the ground, but does whiff the rage gen completely. And the first few shots of this engagement have gone definitely in Drive's favor. This Avatar army is poised to go down if Drive decides to engage this one. The Zone Troopers, if they can kill if the Wolverines can deal with the Tip Troopers, then the Zone Troopers are going to be basically unanswered. The Redeemer may find itself stranded here. Drive, is he going to take out this army? The Avatars, there's still plenty of them left. It's a pretty close fight, this one. Battle Marcus in the top of the base. Drive taking out the back of Shock Trooper's base with a bunch of Pitbulls. This game I've never seen a game so back and forth as this one in a while, guys. This Redeemer, though it's still full health, but you know, that's not saying too much, because 1.03 Redeemers, they just are not that good. Rage Gen, I would imagine, is very shortly done, and there's the Redeemer in its 4K glory as well. Slightly less upscale on that one compared to the Marv, but nonetheless a big improvement over what it was at this resolution. Rage Gen goes up, but of course if those targets if they've already found the targets, it won't matter. Husks will go down here. Only one supporting Avatar left. Engineer needs to be taken out. This does absorb multiple shots. He must have misclicked the ground. The Redeemer does take out that Husk. And if Drive has a tier 3, he can definitely... Well, if he kills a Redeemer with just 4 Titans, I'm going to be amazed, right? Wow, that Redeemer's already on half health. He needs to stop and shoot. This Redeemer needs to stop and shoot, because the Avatars will get picked off really quickly. Avatars seeming to struggle a lot versus the Titans. The Titans, man, they're amazing in this patch. The Pibbles, did they kill the tech? No, the tech is still here, still around. Particle Beams is online. However, that does not do anything against Pibbles anymore, and I think Shock was banking on that. This game is going to continue, guys. In what has been a disaster on my part, commentating it from the start, saying that Drive is... Are you serious, guys? Like, did you just see that? That engineer, in the midst of a Redeemer, an Avatar army, just killed a rocket squad. Call me impressed, alright? Call me impressed. That is probably better making than rifles for anti-infantry. But this second wave of units here is going to be pretty lethal. It may in fact be like the other second wave in the global events happening right now, which turned out to be also worse than the first one. But the Rage Gen does get whiffed, and the Rage is really what makes this army powerful. And I feel that Shock also needs to stop revealing rear armor as well. This is going to give Drive the opportunity to take this one out. Though these Titans, if they clump up, will be taking damage. He just needs to stop and shoot. What is he doing? Shock's moving away from an engagement that he can take. This Redeemer is going to go down for no reason. He gets a Redeemer. I don't know how, but the Venoms, if they're being micro, could take out the pits, but Shock's a bit all over the place here. He just lost his Redeemer for no reason. Bloodhounds being called in here. Do they spawn Wolverines now? No, it's just Pitbulls. Sorry, not Wolverines, MRTs. I thought they did spawn MRTs. Man, it would be cool if you had some MRT drop as Steel Talons, because I feel that that's something that they lack. But Venoms with those supercharged particle beams will be out. Now this is kind of iffy against GDI because of the supersonic airstrike. If a supersonic airstrike comes down on those, he's going to lose every single one of them. Spectres, really good on maps such as Decision, but on an open flat terrain map it's really hard to make use of those. And Pitbulls, man, they just get torn up so badly by Venoms. And I feel it's kind of a waste of money here spending that on those. Though the Pitbulls... Oh, actually, can he take out those pits? No, I don't think so anymore. Tons of avatars still. The Spectres were... I mean, he could go for shadow teams and just long-range bombard all this stuff here in the base. Drive is putting on a good show for us, but this game is looking like it's swinging back in favor of Shock Trooper. And man, this game, I'm surprised that no one really sent it to Cyber yet, because I was not expecting, going into this series, a game of this caliber here. But it's cool seeing all these mock units and upgrades in effect here. Oh, wow, that's not good, is it? Does lose one of those Venoms, so it could have been worse. Venom's quite susceptible to clumping up and taking splash damage. Using the repair tool on the MCV is shock, which it costs a lot of money. He'd be better off just making a war factory, packing the MCV up. He'd get a free war factory for the amount of money he's spent on repairing that one there. And then he could sell the war factory for $1,000 after, so that's $1,000. Or he could just make an engineer right from the barracks. But as mentioned, you know, making Spectres work on the flat maps is just very difficult. Vertigo bombers coming out once again for Shock Trooper. And these Venoms need to stay out of harm's way, because that is really all of Shock Trooper's anti-infantry and anti-air. So he needs to be very careful. Here comes the Orcas to do some damage. The Venoms are not here. He's going to go in and try and take out these hammerheads. The hammerheads are going down. The Vertigo's coming in for a swing. We'll take those ones out. Avatars are in mass, but that's just a ton of avatars, man. Even with those hammerheads there, it's just simply not going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be really tight, really tight, this engagement. Orca reinforcements in here for Drive, as the Titans may actually do it here. The force multiplier is definitely increasing. The hammerheads are going to take out this force. Surprisingly, I don't believe this, guys. The Avatar army looked really deadly. How is this even happening here? Drive pulling off the impossible, as I thought Shock Trooper had this one in the bag. And did he even get APM in the end? Yeah, he did. Who am I kidding, man? These guys are playing really good Kane's Wrath here. This series of games, oh my god. As far as the quality of games goes, I'm pretty staggered at the moment. And I'm trying not to raise my voice too high, but I just can't help it, man. That game was insane. I don't believe that. From start to finish, that game was just insane. So, guys, don't be surprised to see this on Cyber's channel. But I'm going to cast it nonetheless, because, hey, I'm glad to have casted it and enjoy this now and then. And for complete the snake, I want to get this finals out. So, well done to Drive. He's going to be 2-1 up in this series in a very unexpected win indeed. Alright guys, and welcome back to another round of this grand final series with Drive up here. Ahead 2-1 in this series after a spectacular, if I do say so, game. So I really enjoyed that game there, Drive. Let's get the faction right this time. What is he going to be? He's going to be Steel Talons once again, so who am I kidding? Drive did put a show on for us all after all. Was I ever to doubt him? Anyways, there's the Tiki, which means we're on Tiki Turmoil. And his opponent, Shock Trooper, in this game, probably feeling A little bit tilted after that last game. He's probably going to be feeling a bit rattled by what happened. Probably felt that he had it in the bag. I feel that he wasted his Redeemer unnecessarily. I felt the Redeemer was Drive's ticket to victory, but even in that last fight, it looked like Shock had more. But the balance works really different to what I'm used to. Avatars do really get picked off quite easily with no support, so you need the supporting units around the avatars to make that a very strong force. Shock Trooper going to be marked of Kane once again, so no Black Hand, no Nod, sticking with the marked of Kane, which is interesting because he'd get laser capacitors on his Nod Scorpion tanks if he went for the Nod faction, vanilla Nod that is. Anyways, this was Shock Trooper's map pick, so perhaps he's got something in store for us on this map. And you can dig foxholes in Tiberium. I know it's a very toxic environment, but that doesn't say that the Jedi can't dig foxholes in the Tib. Infantry will not die in there. And yeah, man, I can't help but to zoom in on the Tiberium, showcase the Tib for what it is. Look at that glorious Tiberium. Anyways, guys, I've probably shown you all too much Tiberium in one video. Wouldn't be surprised to see a comment saying, "Leave, focus more on the game, stop talking about Tiberium." And you are totally right, guys. Pibbles once again for Drive. Is he doing this again on 3 harvesters? He's on 4 this time. 1 Pibble going in. I guess the foxhole in the Tib field should have been a clue as to what's going on, because I mean, if Drive really wanted to make this not look suspicious, he'd probably put the foxhole here. But Shock should be able to hold this one back. He's got a Scorpion tank. Either side leeching Tiberium. Shock is, but he's left his harvester idle, which is sometimes what I do as well. Correcting it now, so not long. Not sure how long that has been idle for, but these things in a tournament, definitely not something you want to see. Shock Trooper over here with the marked of Kane. We're going to see if he can do something really spectacular in this match. I'm hoping that he does. I'm hoping that this turns out to be a really even series and it's not going to be a complete whitewash from here. But even if it is, the game's all that matters, and the quality of the replays, and you can't complain about these games. They've been fantastic. Spike will take some damage here. Battle markers in the expansion. Raider buggy coming in here for a scout. So he's going to know before going over those Scorpion tanks if there's an airfield, because he can pull back those tanks if need be. You can also just leave them here as well and stop Drive from long leeching the Tiberium here that's over here on the left, the blue tip. This blue tip is ripe for taking, though the longer that Drive waits, the more tip that will be there for him to harvest. Harvester does get destroyed there. The Pitbulls have found a gap in the base. Shock Trooper, as in that last game, he's just not been on point at stopping these Pitbull harassments. And Drive Man with the Pitbulls showing Green Zero how it's done. Green Zero looking to lose his crown here when it comes to Pitbulls, and how well he can make Pitbulls do their job, as Charles always says. In relation to the effectiveness of a unit, he always says, is it doing its job or is it not doing its job? Which I always found to be quite funny. But yeah, tripods, I can confirm, Charles, if you're watching, do their job. Expect to see in the comments down below Charles's response to that. As a defensive tower is grabbed here for Drive. Didn't grab the other one though. It's really annoying if you grab both of them, because yeah, you can just hunker down here with a load of bikes in Nod's case, and just sit there if you're in danger. Stealth tanks, wow, this is not an army you want to engage with a stealth tank. He needs to get those around the back to kill harvesters. Mammoth tanks will be defending this field. Railguns almost completed. Wow, Drive, he's really ahead once again. I don't know what Shock's doing. He's lost that harvester, which I feel has really negatively impacted his ability to come back here. But he's gone for a greedy third field. Man, I wasn't looking for that, if I'm honest. How is he going to hold this back, man? He has to have a second MCV, otherwise this is useless. Okay, he's got 2 MCVs. He's going for obelisks, but the problem is obelisks take too much power in this patch. Charles is ensured that this cannot be a viable strategy. So this is going to be destroyed almost certainly. 2 obelisks come down, but the power requirements is huge. And Drive's already seem to have built a sizable force of juggernauts out, which is going to mean this base cannot be defended now. This double MCV strategy was a total fail for Shock Tripper. And on the left side of the map, more units going down. Not sure what that was, but Titans will be camping this field. There may even be a radar scan on this tip field. But this game, unless Drive, or rather Shock, has something in the back of the base doing tons of damage. If that was a heroic stealth tank, I would still question his ability to come back. But yeah, the 2 obelisks does get dropped in the front line, but that adaptive armor makes it so those tank way more damage. Obelisk getting destroyed there. Ideally you want them to be placed behind buildings, but the ground control is gone for Shock Tripper. And I feel that he has no way to counter this army anymore. His eco is in shambles over here on the left hand side of the map. And that's going to be a 3-1-2 Drive. For sure, they're probably talking in Russian at the moment about the events that transpired in this game. But Shock Tripper can get too tilted. There is more games to go. It is a best of 9 series. He's 3-1 behind, so Drive's going to be enjoying a nice advantage in this tournament grand final, but we're a long way off, folks, from a conclusion in this one, as you get to see more 4K goodness. But besides that, there is really nothing left. He's got an MCV, but he doesn't have an army, nor does he have the eco to make one. Drive getting down the expansion here on the right hand side. Titan gets destroyed, but that's the smallest victory that he could possibly hope for. 1 avatar left for Shock. I don't know if it's worth fighting this one out, because he's just going to expend energy, and I'm not sure how long Shock can play before he starts getting tired and feels like he can't play to the peak of his ability, because that is a thing with some, you need to take a break now and then when you're playing. And fighting a hopeless battle like this is not worth it though. That could have the opposite effect as well. Tech made it really hard for me to win in the Inca Open Grand Final, so he dragged the games out, and he knew that I lost stamina, and that ultimately helped him in that tournament grand final, because later on I kind of got a bit, what's the word? I couldn't concentrate very well. That army is super clumped up, like if he had a vapor bomb or something like that. That would be some sick damage, but it doesn't really matter anyways. Drive. He's moving out once again. All people's Spectre. I was meant to say Shock. Man, it'd be nice to see Spectre play in a tournament. He's been back mostly to play 2v2s with his pals. Panic, Illusion, aka Maze. Those guys, they play occasionally on Kane's Wrath. It would be really nice to see them participate and get active again in the 1v1 scene. Certainly would be more content and more entertainment for you guys to watch. But we've got good players with these 2 in particular that stand out here. I'd say Drive, probably top 3 in the game, or maybe even top 2. Nonetheless, he is putting on an excellent performance for us all here. And that's going to be a 3-1 lead for Drive. So he's only got 2 more wins to wrap this series up. I'm hoping that this goes on to the ace match, but Shock really needs to bring this series back now, because he's getting to the point where, you know, one more loss and it's going to be dire for him. Alright guys, we're back, and it is game number 5, and Drive has a pretty sizable lead in this series, so I'm hoping, as much as you all are, that Shock Tripper can bring this one back. And up here in the top, we're going to see Drive playing as the... Is it going to be Steel Talons once again? It's going to be Steel Talons, so Drive pretty confident with the Steel Talons. He's been doing a fantastic job with Steel Talons. Some of the best Steel Talons gameplay I've seen in a while, for sure. And his opponent, Shock Tripper, who needs to find a way to get himself back on the scoreboard, because it is not looking good currently for him. He's going to be down here. He's going to be 3-1 behind. He's also going to be marked of Kane once again. So deciding to stick with the marked of Kane despite the shortcomings in his last 2 games. Marked of Kane generally not a good faction to play against Steel Talons, because your major effective... how can I put this? The reason you play Marked of Kane is for EMP, and Steel Talons gets an upgrade that stops your EMP. So, you know, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense picking Mock against Steel Talons. But let's just give Shock Tripper the benefit of the doubt. He could have some tactic that he's prepared and trained for, and he knows it works versus Steel Talons. So let's not assume anything here. Anyways, Drive, he's going for, once again, Pipples on 3 Harvesters. Going to get more of those ones out there. And I swear that this game just looks pretty ridiculous now. I am super thrilled by this. And again, guys, stay tuned, because I'm going to have a video showcasing the mod and, you know, announcing it then. Hopefully I will have distribution for the mod sorted by then. I'm hoping to have it in various locations, not just CGF's command post, but you will find it on there as well. And I encourage you all, as I always do, to download command post so you can get 1.03 auto update to the latest 1.03 patch, so you don't have to do anything. It also keeps your replays nice and managed, among many other things. So it's a great one-stop shop for your Kane's Wrath needs. Pipple's going to do a bit of recon in the blue tower infield. We'll find no harvester there. Smart play though, taking out the bridge, because this will stop Shock from taking this field. Rifles did get splashed inadvertently by that bridge, so this is probably going to help the rockets, because rockets unfortunately will be also helping Drive destroy this one. The bridge will go down. Now Shock can go for a quick engineer, get the Simulating Legs and build that one again. And it looks like the harvester was pulled back. For Drive must have pulled that back over. Actually no, he sent that one to the blue tip. Man, that was great timing. So Shock was hoping to get that harvester there, which probably would have gone down. Instead, Drive going for Shock's blue Tiberium. So that's a pretty smart play indeed. I was not expecting that one. Of course, you can either go for your blue tip, or once you've expanded, take the other blue tip. So technique, he made it so both blue tip fields can be accessed from both players at an equal distance, which is really nice. Something that never occurred to me until now. Titans in the corner will get spotted. Must have been a bad rally point there, at least he's got something planned. Nonetheless, those will be spotted. And Shock, what's his strategy going to be here? He was a bit all over the place before. Maybe he could go for Enlightened spam. He's going to try it now. He's going to go for the Secret Shrine for the Enlightened squads. Please do go for the Enlightened squads, because I really want to see those get used. It would be nice to see if CGF's right, if those are as powerful as he says. Is this Harvester going to go into damaged mode? No, not quite. Will get forced off the line there, which is a nice work. Bridge section does get destroyed here. So, you know, Drive's doing all these little battles, taking the small victories where he can. Okay. I'm just looking at the terrain here, because Technique told me that he used a height map for the terrain. That's how it's so perfect. I don't have experience with that, but yeah, if I ever want to make maps, I'd want to learn these things just so I do as good a job as possible at making maps that you guys would want to play. But this is looking again like a strong push to hold back. This push probably can get held back by Scorp spam, but Shock again deciding to go for the tech route. He's going for Enlightened, going for particle beams perhaps, because these aren't that great without the particle beam upgrade. He's going for cybernetic legs, deciding to go for tip infusion first. Interesting, because only the fanatics and rockets get that, and rockets aren't really a unit you want to be training as mock, because they don't get confessors nor black disciples. They don't get any of that good stuff. It's just tip immunity. And damn, Drive's really making this Steel Talons powerhouse work here. It's going to be a real tough challenge again for Shock, considering how he's invested into this infantry now, which is just going to get torn up by the watchtowers. The Wolverines, granted, aren't in force. These obelisks will be picked off rather quickly. Sells it off though. We'll get the Awakened Squad for doing so. Another of these obelisks does come down. And how did this all go wrong? Drive's just really on point, isn't he, in this series? He's just crushing Shock Trooper, just going in with this huge Steel Talons army, and Shock just seems to have nothing to beat it. Could it be balance, or could it be that Shock is just not utilizing Mock very well? I think it really boils down to the fact that Shock Trooper is going Steel Talons against Marked of Kane. Now here's what we like to see. Spectres, this is the sort of thing that can turn the tides. Tip Troopers, really, really nice to see that as well. Juggernauts, the moment those get in range, you could say goodbye to the Spectres. Spectres will be deployed. I always wanted to see Spectres with a decreased deployment time, just so they could be made a little bit more effective. Zone Troopers here, getting quickly dispatched infantry. I don't know, there's 3 Spectres. This is not over just yet. I mean, if a perfect sequence of events happens here for Shock Trooper, then he can win against this army. I'm surprised he didn't get the particle beams upgrade, but perhaps he felt with the nerf to the particle shredder turret damage, it was not worth it. But he forgot that he had those Enlightened, and those benefit tremendously from that. Nice Spectre micro, could fence this MCB. This has to be an obelisk coming down for Shock. If this is an obelisk, this is going to be great news for him. Spectres are in some trouble here. He needs to sell this barracks and empty these Titans, but Drive has the foresight to use the adaptive armor on that, which is good work. Shock still has eco, but his tech center is going to fall imminently, which means he cannot produce any more avatars, no more obelisk, and that's going to be GG. Drive taking this one all the way to 4-1. Man, that second game, or rather third game, which I messed up with the players' factions, that really, I think, got to Shock Trooper's head. And he's going to be a match point now versus Drive, so damn, man, this series is going a lot quicker than I thought. But nonetheless, interesting games, and I may even have to put an anti-spoiler in this video, guys. Been a while since I've done that, but hopefully not. Hopefully we see Shock Trooper bring back this series in an epic comeback. So let's all see how that goes. Okay guys, this could be the last game of this best of 9 series, because Drive is currently up 4-1 in this series. I hope it continues, But he's going to be up here playing as the, I presume, the Steel Talons once again. So he's been quite committed with the Steel Talons gameplay. We saw him play GDI once, I reckon. It's been so long ago that I don't remember, but yeah, it's been a great series thus far. Even though the outcome is skewed a little bit now towards Drive, I am having a good time casting this. And I hope you all have been enjoying watching this if you haven't tuned out already. But yeah, on the right side, Shock will be sticking to Marked of Kane, so I'm not sure if these guys agreed to play Marked of Kane versus Steel Talons or what. But it's about now, I'd say, would be the time for Shock to switch up his factions. But he's going with the Marked of Kane, the Awakened, Strong versus Infantry, and Vehicles. You know, the reason why it says Vehicles, guys, is because originally in this game they had particle beams. The same ones that Black Hand got. And I reckon that the Awakened originally got this upgrade. You can actually make them get the upgrade if you get a Black Hand Tech Center and upgrade Charged Particle Beams. You will get Particle Beams on your Awakened, which turns them into anti-vehicle units. A single bike coming out for Shock. Is this going to be more bikes following up? Yes, it is. More coming out. Is there 3 here? Yeah, there is. So some potential to do some damage, but this has been sniffed out rather early. There has to be some perfect micro here. Actually, Pipples were made prematurely, so it looks like either side deciding to go for the units before building Eco. Not sure if it was by coincidence or what, but Drive's going to be very happy about that because Pipples win out in these situations. He's going to check the blue Tiberium field to see if there's anything there. No, deciding instead to do a counterattack. This will leave him a little bit open, but these are heavy harvesters. They do have that 10% more armor compared to the regular GDI ones. They're going to be happily mining away there. And Shock, he can get some EMPs down, like if all these Pipples take splash damage. Oof, that was really close there. See, one error and he loses these 5 Pipples, and that could be the game. But he's going to escape his Drive with those 5. I don't know where the bikes are, if they're over here trying to kill the harvester. Yeah, they are, but Drive seems to have sniffed this one out a mile away. Those will get cleaned back, scared back. Pipple going back to base for repairs. So the damage was not inflicted. And one thing I like about these guys is they also have been picking the same color consistently. So, you know, when it comes to editing my scoreboard, it's going to be nice and easy for me to do that. But I reckon what Shock could do is go for mid-game Scorpion Tank spam. Try and kill the Steel Talons player before the railguns come online. I think the reason why he's losing is because he's just losing map control. He needs to somehow gain it back. He's Marked of Kane. He has fast units. He can go Scorpion Tank spam. He can go for Bike Buggy, which, you know, Bike Buggy's not that bad, I don't think. But it's likely that Pipples just do a better job than before killing it. But he's got a couple Scorp tanks. He's been doing the same tactic over and over. Pipples, once again, no answer to those. Could have been a dead harvester. This will give Shock time to make an army to, you know, get a response to deal with these. Shock at the moment just having a hard time contending with the Pipples. Drive has he's just been dominating Shock with the Pipple raids this whole series. You would have thought by now that Shock would have developed some sort of strategy, or, you know, at least have expected it by now, because Drive's been doing it every single game. Infantry may want to leave their base too far, because then the gap would just be there for Shock to lose his harvesters. He's a bit open and exposed. Going for a crane, which is interesting. I wonder if that's going to be for a refinery. Those are, I assume, more buffed up in this patch, because 1.02 you just need to sneeze on this and it'll fall. Drive going to do the exact same thing, it seems, as last game. Zone Trooper to... Actually, that's a smart call, isn't it? Putting the Zone Trooper in the tip field so that if there are any, you know, harvesters here intruding in this tip field, they could take them out. Though the Zone Troopers don't get scanner packs, so not going to be able to stealth detect. Harvester going down right there. As well as this one. Man, how did that happen? How is he revealing stealth? Did CGF make it so the Zone Troopers get stealth detection even without scanner packs? Or did the Harvester just become too close to the missile squad? I have to rewind that footage back because that looked weird to me. Nonetheless, Drive flawless, killing 2 of the Harvesters at the blue type infield. That's going to be really nasty. Drive going to probably snowball ahead now. And this is match points, so there is no more errors that Shock Trooper can make in this series. I don't know how he's going to bring this one back again. He's got a refinery down on that expansion, but Drive not making the mistake of committing eco to a field that's being contested. You really need to win out on this middle field before you decide to even think about ecoing up. Going for 2 MCVs once again. He went for a crane and 2 MCVs, so unless cranes have been changed and they can build defensive structures, that is almost certainly a second MCV. Another one comes out there. Mammoth tanks pushing back to base. Those are wounded. The MCV poised to go down. Double Wall Factory Avatar is the name of the game. Those stealth tanks are out and about as well. Zone Trooper in the expansion field. Not sure if that cleaned up the stealth tanks, but I wouldn't have imagined the stealth tanks did much damage. And Drive, man, he's just playing this one out so well. He's been playing so good in this series. I don't know how he would have fared against Bike Rush in his current condition here, because this is some really solid gameplay that we're seeing. Some of the best I've seen of Drive, and yeah, I'm a bit pessimistic about Shock Trooper holding this one back. He lost his MCB. He made a big error putting a refinery on this field. So unless he's been killing a dozen harvesters here with stealth tanks, he's probably not going to be able to do anything. Sells a structure, gets a Zone Trooper. I'm assuming that's a tier 4 space command uplink. I don't think CGF would have made it so you get a Zone Trooper for selling a tier 3 of Steel Talons. That seems pretty insane. But, you know, for anyone who doubted Steel Talon's ability in this patch, well, there you go. They take it, and they take it in style. Titans, man. They seem really powerful in this patch. Way more powerful than what I remember. But that's what I love about 1.3. You know, the meta always changes. One week you've got Steel Talons being OP and oppressive, and the next week you've got Skrin, and then, you know, it's a continuous cycle. No one's ever, you know, going to conclude and agree with one another on what's OP and what's broken. But nonetheless, that was a great series, and I hope you all enjoyed that. And I'm glad to have got this whole series recorded without experiencing a single power outage, which is pretty incredible given how there is a violent storm outside. Anyways, hope you all enjoy this cast. Well done to Drive for winning the tournament, and to Shock Trooper for getting this far and securing second place. And I want to thank you all for watching. This is going to be Master Leaf. Peace out.